call the meeting to order. With that, board members today, Dave Kostick to my right, Charlie Perinian to the left. I'm Rod Blasick, and we also are fortunate to have our township supervisor present tonight in the audience. So with that, call to order. Charlie, would Dave, let's have a look and get approval of the agenda.
I'd like him to make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion approved. Approval of minutes. Charlie, do you want to review our last meeting's minutes, please?
These are the minutes from our January 4th Park Committee meeting. And the meeting started at 7:40 p.m. We all voted to approve the agenda. Approval of the November 9th meeting minutes. We all voted to approve those. Supervisor report. Supervisor Bruce Pearson reported that the cement floor at Lake George Nature Park has been completed. Next is insulation, heat, and new smaller overhead doors. We have $15,000, which was donated for a handicap dock. We will purchase it after the trail to the lake is completed. Arnold's schoolhouse interior is being remodeled and is to resemble its former look. This is the last Park and Recreation Committee meeting at the fire station. Next meeting will be at the new Township Hall building. Supervisor Pearson introduced a Boy Scout, Joshua Shaner. Josh will work with the committee to perform a project to earn credit to become an Eagle Scout. Old business. Move garage to Watershed Preserve East to store tractor. Supervisor Pearson said we have a quote of $3,000 to move it. Perhaps a small pole barn instead. We will review what to do. Light pole installation. Supervisor Pearson said Deputy Supervisor Sherry Benz found someone to donate 2 new aluminum light poles with lights. They will be installed at Watershed Preserve East parking lot in the spring. Grade where former house was located and apply topsoil in the spring. We will ask our building inspector how to cap the cement top to the deep water well next to where the house was located. Ranger workday Saturday, December 5th to improve Lake George Nature Park trails. Chuck said Rangers Lou Burney, Dave Kostick, Tom Posadlik, and himself brought their chainsaws and cleared and marked the long trail to the other end of the park. The trail to the lake was improved in October at another Ranger workday. Pitch pump wells for washing and cleaning at Watershed Preserve Park. We would like one placed at the east area restroom and the other one near the west area cabin. We now know what we need to do to move forward. New business. New overhead door for barn. Supervisor Pearson said we will improve the approach and install smaller doors. Order Lake George Nature Park signs similar to our Watershed Preserve signs. Chuck said we would like about 12 signs with white lettering and a green background. Supervisor Pearson said he has someone to perform the graphics but needs aluminum sheets for the sign backboards. Gather short informational articles written by our park rangers and committee members for a flyer or a newsletter. Chuck said he would like to work on gathering material. This would be a good winter project for our group. 1 or 2 paragraph articles on a wide range of topics. For instance, what to see at our parks, what to do, how to be environmentally friendly at home, spending time outdoors and why it's important. Rod said perhaps we could put something together by April. Supervisor Pearson said we could possibly mail it with our next tax statements in June. Public forum. Ranger Marilyn L. Sorelli asked if the old water well at Lake George Nature Park can be used. The committee responded that that's a good possibility. Ranger Michelle LeCouey said committee members and rangers could possibly write articles on the same subject for our proposed newsletter flyer. The committee said it would go over what articles were presented and make a list. Meeting ended at 8:20 p.m. All voted yes to end meeting.
May I get an approval of the minutes?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
Very good.
I'll second it.
Okay. Next, we've got our supervisor's report. Mr. Pearson, would you be available?
Well, I just have a couple of things to say. When it comes to the signs, I do have those donated. They're being made now, the metal templates. They are copying the same template as what we had on the watershed part, so someone just happened to have the same aluminum material, and they said they would donate that. I also think we might get donations on the garage doors for the barn over on Lake George. I just happened to talk to somebody that says they might have a couple of doors for us, and we'll probably get them installed too if we can get the framework up, so that's something we'll do in the spring.
On those doors, Bruce, I stopped and looked at that and follow up some of the other paperwork. And that back door that's sliding, that's about a 12-foot door, and the cement is poured all the way to flush to the outside of the building. So if we wanted, we could put a full door on that rather than trying to box it in, because that is all 6x8 pillared all the way around that to carry that weight. So if we don't scale it down, we could just put another overhead door right on that would work very well.
The only reason we were trying to scale down is because the doors really go up in price the bigger you get, and if we don't need it, we can do with an 8-foot or a 10-foot door. We can get those donated.
All right.
And really for the tractor, and we were talking insulated doors.
Yeah.
So the cost factor, and we really don't need those big 16-foot doors anymore.
Yeah.
And
the front one's I think the front one's 16. The back one is 10 or 12, but I can verify that
well,
again.
10 or 12, well, if we can put 2 10-footers in, or an 8-footer and a 10-footer, I think that'd be great.
Okay.
Or we can box that whole back off, but I think we would want a garage door in the back.
That would be very helpful, yeah. So
if I
we'll
can
follow up with you then, and we'll figure out what size needs to go in.
Yeah, if I can get those donated, then all we need to do is make up a frame to fit smaller.
Sure. Yep.
And then those packages, you know, if anybody is out at Menards, you know, they have like 11% sale right now on anything you buy there. So, I mean, for those packages are like $2,500 for a pole barn package, you know, and if we get a group of us together, as of right now, I have people, the carpenters that have to do community service out of the courthouse, and they're working in here, and I'm sure we can get some help from the county there, and get some qualified carpenters to help us frame something in real quick, especially a small pole barn. So if we buy the package and get it delivered, I think we can put that up ourselves, you know?
Yep. We're talking watershed, right?
Right.
East? Okay.
About what size do we want there?
I'd say probably 20 by 30 at best.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Like a 2-car garage kind of
size? I don't think we want to go bigger than that.
No, 20 by 30, and those are really inexpensive packages.
Yep.
So that's something to think about this spring. And that, I mean, for $3,000, we can buy that versus moving the old garage over. We might as well put something new up.
Perhaps we should work on getting a couple quotes, like one from Menards, and a couple more quotes from other places.
If anybody's out and about.
Yeah, we can do that.
I can stop. If you want to stop at one, I can stop at another and get a couple of quotes, then we can match those up.
Yeah, we can all do that. This month will give us something to do.
And I can get the cement donated again, you know, to do the floor in
for
there
that slab.
again.
Yeah, very good.
that Mike Plower, the retired deputy, said he'd bring his crews over and help us on anything to do with the park, so
Really good.
that's all I've got to say.
Excellent.
Being that we're talking about this garage building, we want something with what, like 10-foot sidewalls?
Yeah, we gotta have at least an 8-foot opening, otherwise you're gonna be dropping the rails on the tractor each time you come in. So if we could go with an 8-foot and a 10-foot ceiling, that way you'd have clearance onto the inside.
Okay.
So if we look at, we can decide whether we do a 20 by 20 or a 20 by 30, as Bruce has mentioned, and then we'll standardize on the size and we'll start getting quotes from there. Is that all right?
No, that's fine, yeah.
You know that old saying though, if you build it, we'll fill it.
Yeah.
You want to make
Yeah.
sure you get a big enough one, you know, because I have 2 pole barns now, and everybody's wondering if I'm going to put a 3rd one up, you know.
That's fact. If you've got the room, you will fill it. And if you don't, your friends will help you.
I mean, and in the wintertime, we can put our picnic tables in there,
Yeah.
we can put our tractors in there, all our equipment. So
Yeah.
it would be nice to have one that'll meet our needs and we don't have to, you know, keep stuff outside.
Absolutely, it makes a big difference. And any of the machines that have gas and such in them, it would be a lot safer having it in an area that does not have any heating or ignition sources too, so.
It'd be good, a good cold storage.
Yeah.
We put the picnic tables there as well, rather
Yeah.
than keep them in the basement at Arnold School.
Yep. All right, approval of bills. Has anyone any invoicing or price bills to turn in for services?
Nope.
No?
None here.
Okay. Next, we're going to go into old business then. Charlie had mentioned in the notes from the prior meeting, pitch pump wells for washing hands and cleaning at Watershed Preserve. And you are basically updated us saying that we'd probably be further ahead just to drill a well and have the pump provide water off the side.
Well, it might be simpler, and it might be a better way from talking to our assistant supervisor, Sherry, that perhaps to put water in the schoolhouse, perhaps put a sink in the basement at Arnold School, and we can have an outside water tap through the wall if we want to use the garden hose outside, and perhaps that might be our best way of having a water supply there. The pitch pump well business, it's a public well. It has to meet a lot of criteria. It can be very expensive. And putting a water service in the schoolhouse might be an easier way to go about the situation.
Well, what we can do then is we can look at 2 things. We can probably get B&B to quote us what it would cost to have a well sank, reuse the pump, and look at considerations for the park. And then we can, if that's too pricey, we can look at simplifying it just with a pitch pump and what's required at that point. So we can look further into that.
We can probably get by without a well at the ranger cabin. If you need water
Yeah.
for washing and cleaning,
Yeah.
you can always get a bucket of water and get some water off the edge of the dock at the lake, you know, for washing your hands. And it's mostly the watershed east side
Yeah.
over by the schoolhouse. Lots of times we need water for washing up, and last summer we needed it for watering our freshly planted trees, and so it'd be nice to have water there.
All right, well, let's focus on the watershed east first. We'll concern ourselves later with the other watershed west. So let's plan on looking at what it's going to take. We can talk with B&B Well, and then we can step back with that information and decide where we want to go. Does that sound all right?
Yes.
From there, let's move to grade former house to apply topsoil at Lake George Nature Park. In the spring, we can order topsoil. We can spread that across. That shouldn't be that big a deal to do that.
No, we could probably lightly grade it with our tractor, order a couple dump truck loads of topsoil, and roughly spread it with the tractor,
Yeah.
and either have the rangers or the community service people give us a hand, and we can rake it out, spread some grass seed, and in no time we'll have grass growing.
Do you want to put that on the project list for 2016 then?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if it's already on there.
All right. Order Lake George Nature Park signs similar to Watershed, and that's already being addressed right now. Bruce said those signs are being donated. When those are received, Bruce, just let us know. We'll get those put in place. And if you need a hand with any of that, let us know and we'll provide a follow-up as well. Next on the old business is gather short informational articles written by rangers and committee members for a flyer or newsletter. Has anyone brought or assembled any notes for that? No? Meryl?
I did my homework.
Dave? Great,
Yes.
great.
It's good.
I was not aware that we had newsletters in the past, so I did a little research on some of the different parks in the area and the types of newsletters they had online. Oakland Township has a really nice brochure, and of course Oxford does, Romeo does. In writing a little article for our newsletter, not knowing what we had and what types of things that you've done in the past, I'm not very creative at writing, but I'm very good at gathering information. I researched some trail safety tips from other parks, printed those off, and I borrowed some of their tips and put them in a list just to turn into you as an idea of something we might want to consider. And I'll
Very
be
good.
glad to give that to you when we're done.
Okay. Charlie, do you want to assemble any of these things then?
Yes.
But I have
Do you
a question.
Marilyn, do you have like a title for your article?
Trail safety tips, I guess.
Okay, trail safety?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
But I had a question, in looking at different newsletters, I received in the mail the Addison Township Library newsletter, which is like a hard copy. I didn't know that you had sent out paper copies that would be folded in envelopes. This might be something you might want to consider, I'm not sure, but if we sent something out like this that had a map of the park and the rules and regulations, people like myself, I don't know, would keep that in their glove box maybe as a map of the different parks that they could use. A little bit easier to take on the trail.
We generally just try to do a flyer, but,
Okay.
specialized items like that, we can look at and see if that's something that we can do at another time or even have as part of the handouts available. But we'll be glad for any information you have to provide to Charlie, and we'll follow it up from there, and then we'll complete a newsletter to go out in April. Sound all right?
Well, April or May.
Okay.
So if there's any information you need gathered, I'm very good at research, but I'm not very creative at writing.
All right. Well, we'll take anything you have and go from there then, Marilyn. Thank you.
That's very good that she wrote an article on trail safety, and there's just so many things you can write articles on about the outdoors and things you can do, and I think we'll have a nice newsletter.
Good.
So if you want mine as a hard copy, are you okay with the electronic copy I sent you?
A hard copy would be nice.
Okay.
All right, so we'll try and get that finalized, get all the information together by our April meeting so that we can send it out in April or May.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
All right.
I really have information about other folks. That was.
Okay, new business. You've got a note here, identify points of interest along the trails at our nature parks, Charlie. Is that basically looking at like identifying some of the trees or special fauna along the area?
Yeah, I think it'd probably be a good idea. She's not here tonight, but usually she is. Ranger Carol Benz has brought it up before, that it would be kind of nice if like certain plants and certain trees, if we had like little markers identifying what they were, just the unique ones. We don't have to identify everything in the park, but it wouldn't hurt if we had a few markers here or there. This is a so-and-so kind of tree, or this is habitat for a certain type of animal over here. And so when people are walking the trails, they can kind of see things really to look out and watch for and things of interest.
I've got a number of the DNR natural resources posters that identifies wetlands, hardlands, a lot of the animals. I put it over on the west entrance to Watershed, and that does exactly that. It identifies in color a lot of the animals, the creatures, the forest specifics. We've got enough room on a couple of the signs that we have right now. Then I can bring an updated in for that, and I think those would be very helpful for that application. And we can do the same thing, put a PVC cover over the front of it, and that protects it from the weather. And it's held up for about 3 years now. It's starting to fade a little bit with some direct sunlight, but I'll get 2 more of those, and they are tremendously helpful to do that. And if we want to improve it from there, we can continue to do so.
Well,
You think that might cover it?
Well, no, that would be good. And then there's certain places along our trails where there's certain kind of a tree or or a plant
could note it.
habitat, and the unique special ones, it would be nice if we identified them, because our parks do have a lot of unique things there, and they should be pointed out, and that's what makes our park special.
Well, I'll get those signs, and then from there we can look at over the summer and identify some of the specifics that you'd like to tag, and we can follow up from that. Is that acceptable?
No, that's fine. It's nothing that's urgent that we have to do, it's just a thought.
Sure.
And in the past, Ranger Carroll's brought it up, and I kind of thought it was a good idea to, a few unique things in the park, they should be identified, so when people walk by them, they know what they are. It's just a good thing to do.
I agree. It's always nice to learn something new. All right, next on the list is move Lake George Nature Park Garage to Watershed, and we discussed that about looking at pole barns and Menards. So we're going to tie that on part of the new business, old business, trying to get pricing for new barns and see whether we want to put up a new one as opposed to deal with the old building. And if we do go new, then we can clean the old building out and make room on that for parking as we need for Lake George. With that, that's most of what we've got on the agenda at this point. Public forum. Michelle?
I just read these old newsletters, and of course I don't live here, so I never received them, but, you know, you're thinking about ideas to write. A lot of this is what I would have written. These are very
Yeah.
good articles.
They
And
were
I
very
think
good,
they're
yeah.
knowledgeable. I'm not an expert on the plants or the trees. I just, horses, maybe not expert, but this, can you repeat these? Because I'm sure there's new
Certainly.
people that live here that
Or
weren't
even
living
flip
here in
sections out of
1999.
it and reutilize
Yeah,
some
we
of
can
the-
reuse a lot of those articles, they were very good.
Because there's, I don't know what the turnover is here. I'm sure.
Well, it's annually done.
No, I mean for the residents. like, you know.
Usually when you move into Addison Township,
Stay.
you never move out.
That's what I'm saying.
So maybe it'll be redundant, you know?
Hotel California.
That's why we have a cemetery.
Good. Like this is from fall of 99 and 2000. And that was a long,
property
that's
years.
years. So
just for
very
clarification,
I didn't even know, like the history of the park.
There's a newsletter that goes out with your tax bill, or like if you're a new resident. There's also what we're considering a flyer that would go into the maps that go into the container at the watershed, correct?
That's right, yeah.
So there's two separate things that we're looking for
Yeah,
here.
a separate flyer. We've been throwing a few little articles on the backs of our maps. We've been doing that as well, but we can have a separate flyer. Supervisor Pearson mentioned that perhaps even we could put a flyer in with our tax statements in July. There's a lot of ways of getting these things out.
Well, at this point, we've got plenty of time. Why don't we try to plan on pulling this information together by July, and we'll add this into our monthly agenda. Collect that information, continue to progress, so that by May, we've got it finalized. In June, it's ready to go. Is that all right?
That's fine. It's still early. It's something we can pick
Yeah.
at. In a couple more months, we'll have things together.
Michelle?
I just have a quick question. People often ask me for maps because that thing's always empty, that container. I don't know if when we come to the meetings, we can get a fresh supply, and every Sunday, because everybody has a different date, you can refresh that box with each ranger that goes there.
Sure.
Like I'll do Sunday, I'll put something in the box.
Who-
And then
who
the
has that on a
I do
PDF?
too. I don't know how to replenish the toilet paper and
Print it.
the garbage bags. I'm waiting for that to happen.
The supplies should be
Do
all
you
in the
print those?
basement.
You print all those? Are you the one that maintains
I
all
went there
those?
twice and checked it, and I
I
thought, what am I
probably
supposed to
don't
do with
use
this?
it.
I don't know if I could do that.
No, I'm not saying you. Does Sherry got that printout? Is that, who prints those out?
Who owns the PDF?
Of the maps.
Bruce, would you happen to know?
I don't know.
Sherry's got to have it. We can talk with her then.
Yeah, just tell us how many you want, and we'll make
Sure.
them, we'll make a whole stack of them for you.
Okay.
Just come in tomorrow and ask her to
All right.
make
And then
maps.
what
I
we
think
could-
Joe Schnorr had the
Oh, I
original.
bet you're right. Yeah,
So if you
yeah.
ask Joe for it, and we can get that, and then we can run them off here.
What's the
And we were
usage
gonna
of the park?
put,
How many people go there per day on
Yeah.
average?
There's quite a few.
Yeah.
Well, we got a lot of fishermen now.
Yeah, I was by there over the weekend, and it was amazing to see the number of people coming and going from there. It's quite surprising.
I got one thing, I've been talking to a lot of fishermen out there. As a matter of fact, I was out there Sunday there, and they talked to me. A lot of them going out there and doing calico fishing late in the evening. And they asked me, how long can we stay here without getting in trouble with the parking lot? And I said, well, it's posted on the sign at sunset.
Yep.
The park closes, but they said, if we stay after dark, will we get ticketed if our cars are in the parking lot? And they said,
The sheriff-
I said, well, it says on that one sign that
Yeah.
it's gotta be at sunset, but,
Yep.
you know, if you wanna do something else, like post a sign on the gate there saying that after 10 o'clock, any car in the parking lot will be ticketed?
That's,
I mean, because
that would
I
be,
can't tell them they can stay there and they're fishing at night.
the hours are daylight to dusk.
Yeah, then they say.
Those are the hours.
Then they say, you know, like, well, am I gonna get ticketed if I stay beyond dark? I can't tell them to get out.
Bruce, do we need to pass a ordinance for the township to allow the sheriff to ticket people? I was there Sunday, and there were people there till 9 o'clock when
They're
I,
not ticketing, but you know, the reason that we want people out of it by sundown is because we can't go in and rescue them
Right.
at night and everything. And as the summer comes, they're in there till 10 o'clock at
Yeah,
night.
that's right.
During the winter time, I just think it's easier because, you know, if you get people, if you're not out there patrolling, you're gonna get people having beer out there and stuff like
Yep.
that. And I think the safest things is to just say from sun up to sundown, and every day they get a little longer, but, you know, I know they like to fish at night, but they might have to come out to Lakeville Lake to do that, but
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said. They
That's
said, you know,
recommendations.
what are you gonna do to me if I stay after dark, you know? I says, well, the sheriff does patrol it, but I don't know if they ticket, so
Well,
I can't tell them yes or no, you know?
all right, we'll follow up on that. Very good. The rules are sun up to sundown.
Yes, I told them.
And I would recommend they want to stay late, go to another lake to fish the evening hours. Good point, Lou, thank you.
Yeah, again, if there's an emergency there and it's dark, no one's gonna be able to help them. And
No.
those lakes are so far away from the parking lot, it takes 20 minutes just to get
Yeah.
back to those
But
lakes.
you know, they
Yeah.
don't really think about that, or they
Yeah.
don't care about that.
And you're right, that's the
They're
point.
doing this fishing at night
Yep.
for calicos, and they're gonna be there until 9 or 10.
Yep, so,
Case in point, there were 4 deaths in the state of Michigan this weekend,
Yeah.
people falling through the ice.
Right.
So,
and with it warming up, it's only going to get worse, and we know a lot of fishermen can be very risky out there in those conditions. But rules are sun up to sundown, and the answer is that the sheriff will be coming out here to investigate whose cars are late, and then they will independently address that with the individuals. If they want to fish late, go to the other lakes.
Yeah,
Um,
they don't know. I mean, they
Yeah.
gotta leave a marker on their car or something, so you
Yeah.
can't stay beyond
well,
something.
that's something we could do. I could add that, we could get some stickers that the deputies can put on the windshields there and just tell them that, hey,
Yeah, that'd be
park
best.
closes at sundown and this is your warning.
Yeah, at least you're getting a warning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we gotta have something that specifically say
Yeah.
that they gotta be out
And
there
what,
by
one
9.
of the things I noted
It's-
earlier is we need to make a sign that is very bold, because the problem is a lot of these peoples are not reading those
No, they're
signs.
not reading.
And it needs to be posted in big letters, sun up to sundown,
Yes,
and
it
that'll
is.
close it.
Right on that gate when
Yeah.
you walk in right there.
Yeah. I've got a note here for another sign, so I hate
After 9
signs,
o'clock,
but, you know, if we don't note it, it's not gonna change.
Those signs are effective. Case in point, the sign that was put up by Perch Pond about no alcoholic beverages. I haven't seen one there since that sign went up. So it works.
Yeah. All right.
If I was to say make another sign, what I'd want on the other sign, it would be, please read the main park entrance sign before walking in. Because all the rules are right there.
What you gotta do is they come in the parking lot, like they do when you're going out west to Wall Drug, you know, every couple of feet. Have something telling you about reading the sign at the
Yeah.
entrance.
Yeah,
It
yeah, what
was-
they're
it
saying
was-
though, they're saying that, you know, there's nothing specifically saying that they can't be there after that.
There is,
I mean, as
there
far-
is
as far as
specific, it gives hours.
What they're gonna do.
Yeah,
you know.
doesn't matter. It's
Yeah,
posted.
penalty.
Yeah.
I
what's the
believe
penalty
the
gonna
sign, refers to, that's an ordinance. The park rules is an ordinance, so.
It's just gotta be shown that it's gonna be in effect.
I don't know if the deputies catch them there after dark, then the deputies will be eating fish.
I told them it's on the sign, you know, so it's up to you guys which one.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's public forum. Any more comments, any more items?
I was going to mention something. I wanted to talk to the other committee members about this, and I've been talking to some of our rangers about this, and I think that the committee should send the rangers a quarterly newsletter. And I think some of the content in the newsletter should be things that they should really know about. One is when I have the WAM people, because a lot of them want to come out and give us a hand. And when I have 2 or 3 rangers helping me with the WAM people, we get a lot more done because we split up the WAM people. We handle 2 or 3 projects at once. And that would be one thing. Another thing is reminding them of the ranger criteria of things that they need to do. You know, show up to a meeting once every 3 months. If their first aid and CPR are current.
We had a letter that we at the start of each new year, we send that out.
Yeah.
Have you still got a copy on that we could just simply update it?
Yeah, I have copies of the ranger criteria, and I think some of that information should be sent in this newsletter.
Well, I think that should be 2 separate items. The newsletter and then the park agenda, as you had just mentioned. I think that should be 2 separate parts. So the park rangers are updated on what is expected of them to stay current with the township and the parks commitment, and then the newsletter out to the general public. So if we can find that update.
Well, I have that. Well, there's other information too, like our ranger work days.
Yeah.
If I let them know in advance when we're going to have ranger work days, these guys know, and like Michelle and Marilyn, they work. And if they see there's a ranger work day and they're off, chances are they'll probably show up and give us a hand.
Right.
And I think that would probably be a good idea, because that way the rangers that aren't showing up, they know what's going on, what we're working on and whatever. And just, just send them a quarterly newsletter, and then again, put that information that you would like to see in there, and that we have on a separate sheet of paper. And it seems like we mail the rangers 3, 4, 5 letters a year anyhow. Let's mail them one every quarter, and they know what's
Good.
going on.
And then we can, in advance, let them know what work days are coming the advanced
Yeah.
quarter, and then everyone's,
Like another one is our Rangers Watching Watershed Preserve in the Summer list.
Yeah.
Okay, we always mail that out. That can be part of one of these newsletters. That's another thing. There's so many things that we can put in here, and it's kind of communication. We need to let the Rangers know what we expect of them, and they have a better idea of what's going on, and our rangers help us a real lot
No doubt.
with our projects, so.
Do you want to coordinate then that?
Well, yes, I was gonna try to put something together, and then next meeting, show it to you guys.
Good.
And go over it, and get some input, and that way we can send the rangers something maybe in April, and we can remind them if they're not current with their CPR, that they better go get
Sure.
that done, and
Dave, would you want to contact the sheriff's department or the township and see if they're going to put on a new class this year for
Sure.
CPR?
Absolutely.
And that way, when Charlie has his letter, we can give them a date on when that might be, once we have an idea on how many park rangers need to be updated.
And another way that we used to do that too, Rod, was we tell the rangers that where their CPR has lapsed, to please call the fire department and have their name put on a list.
Yes.
And then when the fire department has a class and they're looking for participants, they call these rangers up. And so we can remind them to do it that way too.
Both ways.
Yeah.
And in this way,
Yeah.
if we know, if Dave lets us know, we'll have it in advance, we can add that, and then they can call in and remain on that list.
Yeah.
Good.
I'll update that and give you guys a text tomorrow.
That'd be great, Dave. Thank
Sure.
you. Marilyn?
Have you projected any ranger work days for this quarter?
Right now, I don't believe we have. That's, the last one we had was what?
December.
In December.
Yeah.
So generally, we thought the weather over January and February is usually pretty severe enough that we try not to do too much, and looking towards spring onto the break. Of course, it's been an exceptional year for mildness and weather, but nothing's scheduled at this point until we put this together with dates looking ahead, Marilyn.
We'll have work days, I think, in April and May, and we're going to have the WAN people quite a few times, and we have a lot of things to do. We have a lot of projects. We have Labode Park and Lake George Nature Park, and then just maintenance at Watershed Preserve Park. So we'll have a lot of interesting projects, and we're going to need some help. So we'll get the word out early,
All right.
and we'll try to make it fun.
That's public forum. There's nothing additional to add. I'm going to request
To make a motion to close the meeting?
It's
Very good.
20 minutes after 8.
okay, I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned.